It's a great pleasure to be with all of you. My name is Hari Natarajan. I'm Vice Dean of Business Programs at the Miami-Dade Business School. This actually is my first ever real estate impact conference. I'm somewhat embarrassed to admit this, but boy, what have I missed so far. This is an incredibly distinguished audience and a wonderful, energetic audience as well, so I'm pleased to be here with all of you. I'm here representing several luminaries at the University of Miami. Let me start with the Miami-Dade Business School. Interim Dean Anne Olazabal couldn't be here. She's away attending a Dean's Conference in San Antonio. She sends her regards. The School of Architecture's Dean Rudy L. Khoury, he's not able to be here because he's traveling in the Middle East. He sends his regards. I'm telling you, both of them are surely going to know what they've missed today because I'm going to tell them. And you will have and will hear from the Dean of the Law School, Dean Yellen. She's on the program. She'll be joining us later. Now, what I like about this particular event is that it brings together seasoned commercial real estate professionals, thought leaders, industry giants, and brings together a lot of the University of Miami student population as well. So there are several students out here in the audience today that I'd like to acknowledge and recognize. Well, those of you who are students at the University of Miami, please stand up. This is the future, these are the leaders of tomorrow, and we're really, really proud of the fact that they chose the University of Miami. Thank you. We also have a lot of University of Miami alumni here in the audience today. They've come back to their alma mater. They give their time, effort. They're incredibly generous with all of that. I'd like to acknowledge our University of Miami alumni. Could you please stand up? Wow. See, just from these two sets of people standing up, you know that the University of Miami has become the preeminent academic institution. Is this better? Oh man, none of you pointed this out until now? Come on. So this clearly establishes the University of Miami as the preeminent academic institution for commercial real estate education in the Southeast. I say that somewhat with a little bit of a doubt in my mind, not because we can't conquer the Southeast, but we have aspirations to grow our footprint even larger. This is going to grow. We are in the right place. We have the right tools. We have the right setup. We have the right ecosystem to grow this even further. Now, this is because we have an incredible collection of programs that's able to build and cultivate these students for purpose in market. If you think about the Miami-Dade Business School, we have an accelerated MBA in real estate. We have a Master of Science in Finance that has a real estate focus. And we have undergraduate majors and minors in real estate. If you look at the School of Architecture, they have the renowned MRED+U program, which is a master's program in real estate development that focuses on urbanism. We have the University of Miami Law School that has a LLM program in real property development. So you have a lot of programs here that have been carefully curated, well put together to help deliver talent to the industry. So for those of you who know of someone who might be a good fit to one of our programs, please send them our way. We do have people here at the tables in the hallways. They have program brochures. I do have to do a little bit of sales pitch at these things. So please send your students our way, okay? Now, Andrea, who's here, tells me that the first ever conference had about 100 people. The first ever real estate impact conference had about 100 people somewhere in Brickell in an unfinished building. And apparently, one of the speakers actually said and bemoaned the lack of real estate talent in the South Florida area, okay? Now, if only that person were to come here today and take a look at the talent that we've produced, this is an incredible amount of progress that we've made in 10 short years, great strides of progress, and many thanks to all of you for supporting the progress that we've made over these last few years. Thank you. I have a particularly well-engaged first row today that's helping me. Thank you. Now, the first conference would not have been possible without the support of the late Jay Kislak and the Kislak Foundation. We are incredibly grateful for the faith that they placed in us, the confidence that they had in us to be able to set this up and be able to bring it to the size and stature that it has today. So, Tom and the Kislak Foundation, many thanks to you. Jonathan, I don't think is here. Is Jonathan here? Okay. Many thanks to both of you for setting this up. We also have other presenting sponsors. Douglas, Elman, and Witkoff have been with us since the start. I believe Howard is here. Is Howard here? No, so thank you, Howard. We acknowledge the incredible generosity of both Douglas, Elman, and Witkoff in putting this together for us. This year, we have a new fourth presenting sponsor. That's Ripco. We're very grateful to Miami Herbert alum Steve Sperandio. Is Steve here? There he is. Thank you, Steve. Thank you for facilitating this connection, and many thanks to Tony Pavley and Brian Semmel of Ripco as well for being our presenting sponsors. There are many other sponsors whose incredible generosity helps us put these types of events together, helps us become thought leaders and talent producers in this space. Their contributions and their generosity spurs the myriad of educational enhancements that we pursue in our curriculum. It helps us fund faculty research and thought leadership in this space, so we are incredibly grateful to our sponsors. On your programs, you'll see these sponsors listed. They're also on the screen at various screens that are at the conference, so many thanks to all of our sponsors here today. Now, I do want to point out one special act of generosity. I just recently learned that Miami Herbert and Law School alum Charles Foschini. Charles, are you here? Where is Charles? Way in the back. Ah, there. So Charles recently established an endowed scholarship to support students pursuing degrees in commercial real estate at the School of Law, School of Architecture, and the Miami Herbert Business School. So thank you, Charles. Now, apparently there's an old adage in real estate about location. So let's talk about the location of Miami. Now, our city, as many of you know, has been on an incredibly upward trajectory. There are some unbelievable statistics that come out. 1.5% unemployment rate, $3 trillion in assets under management moving over to Miami in the last 2 or 3 years. The maximum inbound population post-pandemic here coming to Miami. So lots of indicators telling us that technology, talent, capital is all moving to Miami. So if you think of the evolution of cities and their growth, this serves as a kind of inflection point for our city. And what comes forward is going to be is going to be a realization of the immense potential that our city has always had and that we have known. So to help us understand what this future holds for us, we have some incredible speakers who are going to tell us what they think the future is going to hold for us. I'm excited to learn from them, so without further ado, I'm going to hand over the program to Andrea Hewson, who, if anyone knows Andrea, knows she's the master convener of all of this. So please join me in acknowledging Andrea in putting this event together. Thank you, Andrea. And thank you all. Hope you have an exciting conference.
Thank you, Hari. Let me see if I can get this. Is that better? Somebody will tell me if it's not. I'm really glad I don't have stage fright. This is so cool to be up here and to see us all back together again. I have to keep the glasses on even though this is 20-point font. So let me welcome you to the 11th conference. There are so many people to thank in addition to our sponsors that I just have to take a minute and, just a shout out to, first of all, our friends at Agave and at Lowe's, because they put this beautiful complex together early, ready for us. Thank you to everybody who worked on this project. My assistant, Sonia, who many of you know via email, is around, could not do this without her. I know everybody in here knows our development group. We have Orestes, we have Sylvia, and we have Connor, and they're the ones who have done such a fabulous job with sponsorship that allows us to host a conference like this, and they are here somewhere in the back. There's a set of administrators. Natalie, Roxanne, and Allison have been handling registration, notices, name tags, all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes, and our events team. Blanca and Caitlin have everything here running absolutely smoothly. There are 1,066 name tags. Somebody had to put all of those in the sleeves with the ribbons, student volunteers. They stuff the bags that are on your chairs. It really takes a village to put this on, and I'm so lucky to have this village. I want to spend just another minute talking a bit about the fact that the sponsors are generous enough that we do generate some extra money from this conference. We use it to enhance the education of all of our students here at UM. And you will hear about the law school and MRED as the program evolves. We use the proceeds from this conference for merit scholarships. We support internships for students in our accelerated MBA in real estate program. We support Project Destined, and I have some Project Destined students here. That is a commercial real estate educational and mentoring program for students who may not have all of the advantages that some private school students do. We support a group called REIS, which is the same thing, a summer program when we bring them into the University of Miami. We have a relationship with Breakthrough Miami. 18 students, 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, will be on campus learning about commercial real estate, and they're all from Miami high schools. We have the only impact investing in commercial real estate case competition. This year, the finalists are from Chicago, Columbia, and UM, and we're really excited to see what their proposals evolve to. We try to have something new each year, and last year we had something called U-Scale in conjunction with our entrepreneurship department. We had founders of companies, mostly companies disrupting the commercial real estate industry, but they do really interesting stuff. And this year we have 7 more. They're out just behind us out on the balcony, so at the breaks, please go talk to them. They have some very cool stuff, video stuff, artificial intelligence stuff, and they're eager to talk to you about their products, and they don't need money. They're at the stage beyond needing money, so they're really fun to talk to. This year we have 2 new things. We're starting a mentorship program. I know Peter Mekris is out there somewhere, and also Mark Levy from BBX is out there. They are leading our mentorship program, and in a couple weeks we'll get some interest in people who want to be mentors for our graduates and our undergraduate students. And today at 10 o'clock, we had more than 100 students and young alumni here at a program we're calling Canes Connections or Connecting Canes or something like that, sponsored by Al Milo and Related Urban. And Al's already signed up for next year, so you heard it here first. And it was, just a great way for people to get to know each other. The mentorship program I forgot to mention, and I can't see him, but it's being headed up by, there's a new faculty member in the business school, Jason Dam. And I know you're here, because I saw you at lunch. He's around. Oops, he's around somewhere. There he is. Stand up. Just don't be shy. There's Jason. It's really, really good to have a colleague in this business because we have the greatest job in the world, and it is very fun to share it. If anyone's interested in our graduate programs, as Hari mentioned, we have admissions personnel outside. They're happy to talk to you about business, law, and MRED. If you know someone who would be a good candidate, send them our way. We're very, very proud of our students, and I think that as you interact with them more, you will see why we are so proud. As Hari mentioned, Miami is a city ready to take off and do great things. And I want to introduce Randy Weisberg. He's very close. He will tell you a little bit about the first panel, which is one that he curated. Randy is the Chief Operating Officer of Atlantic Pacific, which is a 4th-generation real estate company. They do everything: acquisitions, development, property management, and investments, Florida, Georgia, Texas, California. So they got a great portfolio of states. Before joining Atlantic Pacific, Randy was a VP at L&R. He's a Miami Herbert alum, and he's currently the chair of our advisory board. So thank you, Randy.
Good afternoon. Wow, what an amazing crowd. So today, hours ago, Miami-Dade County has unveiled features of its much anticipated downtown redevelopment project, for which the county, it's her baby. It's her baby. For which the county is offering 17 acres of county-owned land branded as Metro Center, in the heart of the 28 acres that serve as the seat of the local government. The county aims to redevelop downtown and transform it into a 24-hour community. To that end, the project is to include affordable, workforce, and market-price housing, an intermodal terminal with a direct connection to Government Center, to the Metrorail, to Metro Mover, a cultural arts campus with a new library and space for History Miami, with public and fleet parking. We have assembled an amazing panel to discuss this project, which will inevitably become the benchmark for urban redevelopment worldwide. I'm pleased to introduce our moderator for this panel, Susan Wachter, the Albert Sussman Professor of Real Estate and Professor of Finance at the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania, the Director of the Wharton Geospatial Initiative and Lab, and the co-director of the Penn Institute for Urban Research. She also directs the Spatial Integration Laboratory for Urban Systems at the University of Pennsylvania, and is renowned for her portfolio of academic publications about the commercial and residential real estate markets. It was so hard for me to read all of that, but she actually did it. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Susan. Thank you all for being here. We're so excited for this panel, and I'll let you know I sat with a group of students today, and I asked them, which panel are you most excited for? 5 out of 5 wanted to hear this panel and to hear what transportation is for our future. So thank you and good luck.
Thank you. Thank you.
Before you start, I am the absent-minded professor. I know that you will have questions for this panel. Download the app. I have no idea how to do that, but I know that you do. If you download the app, it will give you the ability to type in questions, and they will magically appear on a machine that Susan has in her lap, so she can curate the questions. Thank you.
Thank you, and welcome all. Welcome to Moving in Miami, a transit-oriented initiative that will forever change downtown Miami. And we're grateful to the people on this panel, people to my right and left, for bringing us to this moment where it's been announced and unveiled here for the first time to all of you. And it's my great pleasure to hear about how this initiative came to be and what it will accomplish. And its potential is tremendous, as we will hear. So in order of speaking, we will hear first from Commissioner Eileen Higgins, an engineer by training and a diplomat. She has brought her considerable talents to the people of Miami and was elected commissioner on June 19th, 2018 for Miami and Miami Beach. To my left, we have Eulois Cleckley, who serves as the Director and CEO of the Department of Transportation and Public Works for Miami-Dade County. As Director and CEO, Director Cleckley oversees the largest public transit system in the state of Florida. And finally, as our wrap-up speaker, we're thrilled to have with us John Buck, who is the chairman and CEO of the John Buck Company, which he founded in 1981. He is responsible for the overall strategic direction of the firm, and the firm itself is a premier vertically integrated real estate company that is famous for revitalizing downtown Chicago. And just 2 weeks ago, he became the owner of a significant piece of land in downtown Miami. With that, Commissioner Higgins, tell us how this will make a difference.
This is great. I'm just going to get up here and get the clicker. I think I have a little presentation when you gentlemen get the opportunity to bring it up. I thought I'd actually start with what I consider, you all are in the, the real estate business and the construction business, and we always hear this word called TODs, right? Transit-oriented development. I hate that word. And I think of them as transit-oriented communities, and I have my own definition that on every project I'm involved with that I apply, which is using, in this case in Miami-Dade County, using the public's land to create places where residents can afford to live, work, play, and learn. And so I'm going to just quick show you a few examples. But for those of you that aren't from here, if you just stand on any street corner and ask anybody what they're worried about here, they're going to say two things. Wow, it's expensive to live here, and wow, we have a lot of traffic. And so for Director Cleckley and myself, those of us in government, we have to ask ourselves, is there anything we can do to solve both these problems? And yes, the answer is yes, we can work on traffic, and yes, we can work on housing. But the real question is, can we do these things together? And that, I think, is what Miami-Dade County has been pretty innovative in. We own a lot of land in our very, very large county. And I'm going to show you just a couple examples of what we do with small parcels, and then you're going to see this 28-acre parcel. So this gives you an example. This is very close to downtown. It's 1 acre, aerial shot. This is what it looks like today. This is basically, as you can see, nothing. It's a 2-story building and an empty parking lot. It's a 5-minute walk to all of our trains and Metro Mover and 40% of our county's bus routes. This is what this will be transformed in. We have already awarded a contract, and I think we're nearing permitting. On this site, we'll be able to have, I have my cheat sheet here. We're going from basically nothing to 439 units, and over 40% of these units are affordable and workforce housing.
Wow.
And we, as a county, as a government, are also going to receive $237 million over the 75-year lease. So this is an example of really trying to look at how do you use the public's land for public benefit, both for housing, for revitalization of a neighborhood, and quite frankly, revenue. Here's another example. This is a site, it's in Brickell. It's literally across the street from our Brickell train station. You can see most of it's empty. When we started on this site, we had 106 very dilapidated affordable housing units. You all know the kind. You wouldn't want your grandma living in there. And we are right now in the middle of rebuilding this entire area. We will have a middle school. We have mixed income, workforce, and senior housing here. We basically have 600 units of housing. Over 150 of those are for seniors. And overall, more than 40% of this project is affordable and workforce housing, generating $322 million in revenue over the lease for the county. Also, I call this my 2-for-1. We did not have a school. I said that transit-oriented communities are about live, work, play, and learn. If your kids can't walk to school, young couples who have children move out, and what do when they move out? They buy a car. And what does the car do? Adds traffic. Really cool project. This is another example of a park and ride. We have 5 acres. We need park and rides near our transit stations, right? Some of our folks do drive there to get there. And this particular project is, of course, going to have a park and ride. We still need parking. But what a difference. We will have 402 housing units, and 60 of those will be affordable and workforce. So I think you can see that we do a lot with little things, but then all of a sudden we have downtown, right? Mm-hmm. And now it's 28 acres. What do we do with that? This gives you an overhead view of that, but the yellow here shows you our parcels, our county-owned land. And county-owned land is not county-owned land, it's the people's land. May I remind you, it's not government land. Anybody that lives in Miami, you are part owners of these land, and we need to use it responsibly for you. I've also overlaid all of our transit, Metro Mover, Metro Rail, Tri-Rail, and Brightline. So every one of these parcels is a 5-minute walk from transit. That's when we decided we were going to embark on a very public process with a lot of public meetings to come up with what we wanted to do. The county traditionally just bids out a parcel. And I knew at the end of the day we would end up with a lot of buildings. We wouldn't end up with a neighborhood. And so based on community input, and I think I see a lot of you that were also in the room, community members, residents, moms and dads, the development community, this is really what the goal of our project is to create this transit-oriented community that's a first of its kind in Miami-Dade County, where affordable housing is available, kids can walk to school, transit is great, that's his job. A car isn't needed because it's walkable and safe. We have parks and open spaces that are usable and fun for people. We don't have that downtown. To be a model for resiliency in the face of what's happening with climate change, where businesses want to locate, where we've got retail and restaurants, and cultural facilities like museums and our library. And of course, it's the seat of our government. So we do need to make sure that our government facilities are seamlessly integrated into this process. Let's see, click. Can you all advance it one, or is it? Yeah, thank you. Okay. So I think actually Randy pretty much gave this presentation, so I don't really need to say anything here. But we have some requirements as this RFP goes out. But for me, my number one priority is affordable housing. We really are the epicenter of the housing unaffordability crisis in our country. And so this project will bring a minimum of 2,000 affordable and workforce units. But you can see all of the other things the county wants in this project. And then there's lots of creativity for the private sector in this. So it's the master development opportunity. The RFP dropped today, so I can't talk too much about it with any of you individually. But it's about 23 million square feet of development potential. There's 17 acres that are really developable within 28 that are there. And really, when it comes to height, the folks that dictate that for us are the FAA. We really have the ability to build some density because we have the transit available there. And then you saw the list of stuff I want, right? We, the county government. We want a new History Miami. We want a beautiful public library. We want a park. We want affordable housing. We want an intermodal center to have world-class transit. Those are all things that matter to our residents. So this project is extremely unique because our goal as a county is not highest and best economic use. It's highest and best economic and social use. And I think that's very unique for us, where we are going to, of course, want to give financial return. This is very valuable land that the people own. But we also need these social benefits and transit benefits. So it's a fabulous project. I'm excited. Here's some potential, things of what it could look like. And that's it. I think we have great projects everywhere. So, okay, that's it. You can take this off, and I'll turn it over to you, Susan.
Thank you so much, Commissioner, for your work on this and for unveiling it here. And as we heard, this is going to have a transit focus, and we're so happy to have with us Director Eulois. Go ahead, please.
Thank you very much, and really appreciate the invitation to the event today. So thank you to the University of Miami, and thank you, Commissioner Higgins. She is a staunch advocate for transportation and transit, and so we are fighting the good fight, right, Commissioner?
We do.
There we go. So, and I'm very excited to see so many students here from the University of Miami. At the end of the day, you guys are the leaders of not only this county, but the nation, and the fact that you have identified this session as the #1 topic that you want to listen on. It's extremely important, and I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to be in front of you. So I expect to see you guys apply for a lot of positions within the Department of Transportation and Public Works, because transportation and the industry of transportation is not just engineering or planning. You have a legal aspect, you have operations of our system, of course, but we do have attorneys on site, and we have real estate professionals on site as well to do exactly what Commissioner Higgins is laying out, which is trying to figure out ways to better link housing and affordable housing, workforce housing to our transportation and transit system and as we move forward. And so we need your help, we need your experience, and we need your willingness to help us move this county forward. The county continues to grow, of course, every single month and year over year. And if we don't figure out ways to create a comprehensive, safe, and efficient transportation system, we will end up not allowing this county to continue to proceed from a sustainability standpoint as well as an economic vitality standpoint. So I know some of you who are not necessarily familiar with Miami-Dade County or the Department of Transportation and Public Works, just some real quick statistics. So our department, we have 4 modes of transportation that we provide. We provide a paratransit service, one of the largest in the country. We have about 5,000 trips on a daily basis. Those are for elderly and disabled individuals. We have our Metro bus service, which is actually about 70% of our ridership across our system, 170,000 trips per day. We have our Metro rail service that has 25-mile, 24-station service that connects parts south and to the north of the county. And then we have our Metro mover service, which is our automated people mover that is 4.4-mile circular automated system downtown that connects to other commercial areas like Brickell, downtown, and the like, which we're looking to expand into other areas as well, i.e. the beach. But we have this massive, expansive, smart program that we're looking at expanding mass transit throughout the entirety of the county to better connect residents and to businesses, amenity areas, and commercial areas and the like. So we're very excited about the Metro Center project. If you were to look at our transportation system from a circulation standpoint, the heartbeat of our system is really at Government Center. It's the largest location on the Metro rail system in terms of ridership. We have over 60 buses per hour that are dropping people off at Government Center. And of course, we have our Metro mover system, and it's one of the largest in terms of ridership locations that people are taking on the Metro mover to get downtown. So it is really the heartbeat of our transportation system. What we are focused on as a department is, of course, trying to be the world's best provider of transportation options, and the way you do that is better link land use decisions, housing with transportation. So you can continue to make Miami and Miami-Dade County really a place where people can work, live, and play, and learn. And so this project not only is going to add additional affordability and workforce housing, it's going to provide greater ease of access to our transit system. It's also going to provide improvements around the facility, around this intermodal facility, from a pedestrian and bicyclist standpoint to allow those 2 modes of transportation options to be able to be better integrated to our entire system. And so our goal at the end of the day is to figure out ways that we can truly reduce the housing and transportation costs as a percent of household income. So just to give you an idea of where we stand within the city of Miami, you are paying upwards of 50% of your household salary on transportation and housing. Now compare that to another city of similar size. So in the city of Miami is around 450,000 residents. Miami-Dade County is 2.8 million residents. Another similar sized city was Oakland, California, just to give you an idea. Similar type of social demographics, I would say, as well as the environment. And the percent of housing and transportation costs are 38% of a household's income. And so I think the stories have already been told that the housing is increasing. So that's a metric that you can solve by having good, solid land use decisions, but also the ability for you to figure out ways to reduce, from a cost perspective, transportation for many of our households is critical for people staying in the city of Miami, staying in Miami-Dade County. Not only does it impact you personally for you to have ease of access to amenities, but think of all the impacts to employees and employers that are relying on people to take our public transportation system to get them to where they need to go. So we're excited about this project. We do feel it's going to have a significant impact for us, and it's going to help drive, of course, ease of access to our transit system, which will ultimately drive and increase ridership throughout our system. And it's very important as we continue to expand our transit system that we figure out ways to make it easier for people to live closer to where our systems are and thereby they can take our transit system moving forward and justify the billions of dollars of investment that we plan to move forward with in the next decade or so. So we're excited about this project and are looking forward to continue to work with all of you to help deliver this. I would say, just as a point, from a transportation professional, I've lived and worked in quite a different areas throughout the country, and there's been time and time again where there's examples of this type of development and how it's really transformed downtowns. Previous to this job, I was in Denver. One of the major projects in Denver was Denver Union Station. That's an intermodal facility that connects bus service in Denver with the existing light rail line. It's completely transformed downtown Denver. Those types of projects connect communities, and that's a different approach than what historically has happened in the transportation world, which is using transportation infrastructure to divide communities. And that's not the direction we're going in. That is something that Commissioner Higgins, as well as our mayor, Daniela Levine-Cobb, is very focused on, figuring out ways that we are connecting people, connecting communities, and make it an environment where you have greater ease of access to really have a great and wonderful quality of life. And so that's the goal for our department, and it's very happy and I'm excited about this conversation. So I'll stop.
Thank you, Director Cleckley, and for laying out the opportunity to connect the people of Miami to opportunity for housing and transit. John, tell us how this matters and your view on the potential.
Okay, thank you very much. I must say that my career started in Chicago in 1971, and I've really enjoyed working there, and a lot of what we've done has revolved around public transportation. Miami is the hottest city in the country right now, and if anybody's investing in office or multifamily, this is the city to be in. We're blessed to initiate a project with Fair Value Partners. I know Gus Alfonso's out there somewhere, and Isaac Toledo, which is interesting. But this project that the county is initiating is extremely important to the CBD of Miami. And the fact that it's revolving around a great deal around public transportation makes it even more so. So I'd like to walk through a few examples of what's been done in other cities. We built a building recently in San Francisco, and the transportation center there is a beautiful piece of architecture, and it's really rejuvenated the CBD of San Francisco. And we built a building with MetLife on a spec basis, 800,000 square feet, and we were able to lease it 100% to Facebook when we opened it up, and it all has to do with the transit system that they've developed, and it's beautiful. I'd like to mention some that are very interesting examples of what the county, I'm sure, has already considered. I'm thinking about the Harry Weiss subway stops. He was an architect in Chicago many years ago. In D.C., Canary Wharf, the underground station there in London, is a must-see project. The Sydney Metro is another must-see project, which has, these are really, really interesting architectural projects, but programmatically they've turned out to be extremely successful. Stockholm Central Station comes to mind. Centennial Yards in Atlanta, I haven't seen. I've read a bit about that, but I haven't really visited there. The City Center in Washington, D.C., which is a really fairly new project, is a real eye catcher, and it brings a renewed life in the District of Columbia, frankly. I often think of Jane Jacobson. I'm not a planner by background, but she was the expert from Canada that really talked a lot about you build to your strength. And much of what she said, much of what she taught us over the years was having to do with moving people in a safe environment. And of course, I know I'm from Texas originally. Miami is very much of an automobile city, but it will change. I built a building in Austin, Texas in the late 80s, and I was telling my attorney there that they should build a transit system in Austin, and he thought that was the stupidest thing in the world. And now that would have cost maybe $20 million, and now they're embarking on one which is going to be well over $2 billion in cost in Austin, Texas. So that's much it. Yeah.
Thank you, John. We have time for questions, and unfortunately, I don't have a passcode, so. But we have an old-fashioned way of asking questions, unless someone can help with the passcode for the tablet, which is put up your hand and someone will bring you the mic, and hopefully, and we can go that route as well. And as we do that, let me start out and say, Commissioner, with a question to Commissioner Higgins. Commissioner, if this were purely real estate development with no attention to social aspects, what kind of revenues do you think it would? What would be its value? And what do you see the trade-off in terms of the social contribution, the potential of that for Florida and for Miami?
I don't even think of it that way. My role as a government official is to make sure this is a good place to live for absolutely everybody here. It is not to generate profit, right? Now, I'm not, Pollyanna-ish, it costs money to run a government. We have to provide transit, we have to have parks, we have to pick up your garbage, most important thing I think that we do. And I think I speak for our commission and our mayor when I say no one has asked me to change this project to a for-profit project, because that's not what local government is supposed to do. We are supposed to be the ones that make this a great place to live for the people who need it. And there are intense needs in our community. Like, we talk about this as the hottest place in the United States of America for real estate, but our average median income is one of the lowest, and the gap between what our people make and the price of housing is absolutely unfathomable. And so it is our job to create a neighborhood that our people can use, because if we don't have a workforce here, we don't have an economy. And so I'm in a very different position than many of you in the private sector are with your own land, where you can think about profit maximization. And I know not all of you do that. There's always a blend of things, but I don't even think about it. I don't ask the question. I don't care how much I could make, because it might make me feel guilty, but I don't care. Like, I want a park, I want affordable housing, I want a beautiful transit terminal, because right now, our riders on the bus, 80% of our transit riders are on the bus. Why are they on the bus? Why do they take the bus in our county? They cannot afford a car, or they cannot afford to park where they work. And right now, they're out in the sun or in the rain. We have got to make sure that transit is a fantastic experience for all of our riders, whether they are choice riders that have lots of money, or whether they are folks that are simply dependent on transit that keep our tourism economy going. And listen, I showed you a few examples, but man, we've got tons of them. Randy's working on a beautiful one for us at Atlantic Station. 60% of those units are going to be affordable in workforce, and they're right across from a train station, and there's transit facilities, and there's retail. So what I can say is we can do it all. We can improve transit, we can add affordable housing, and we can take some revenue for the county, because we do need some revenue for the county. We got to maintain these facilities. They can't fall apart over the years that come. So I hate to not answer your question.
No, you did. I think that's the whole you've laid out the holy grail, which is affordable housing, transportation opportunity, and tax revenues. So you have it all. So tell us how, Director Cleckley, how the multimodal aspect of this will bring people together and be transformative. Tell us more about that.
Absolutely. I mentioned the volume of riders that we have currently today navigating through this same space. To Commissioner Higgins' point, this project will create a better customer experience. And again, when you're making that type of investment, you inevitably are going to be able to drive more ridership throughout your system. So we're very excited about it as an opportunity. For our department, the Atlantic Pacific project that was mentioned is right adjacent to another Metro rail stop called Overtown Transit Village, and then that location actually provides additional access to Brightline, as well as our Metro Mover station. It's very similar to what we would experience at Government Center as well, where the redevelopment will actually allow for that connection to Brightline, which is an inner city passenger service, which in a long-term essence, we are developing an actual project called the Northeast Corridor, which is one of our 5 projects that we have as a part of our SMART program to provide additional commuter rail service that can move folks to the northern part of the county down to downtown, which will have direct access to this development as well. And then again, I would make mention of the fact that we talk about transit a lot, but it's all about public transportation and the infrastructure that's providing those greater connections. We are continuing to build out our bike network downtown to truly allow biking and those that have the desire to bike as a form of commute or even just to get around, that you're able to do so safely downtown, and providing those direct access and connections to this development as well. So all of this is really going to create a fantastic environment to have a true intermodal transportation connectivity that is one that everybody can use and everybody can benefit from. So we're very excited about these options and this opportunity. We have this type of development across our entire network, and again, we're yielding significant benefits from a ridership standpoint. And reducing the amount of time that it takes for people to commute to where they need to go on our system is what is truly all about. So we're excited about this, and we feel that this project will yield the same type of benefits that we're currently experiencing throughout the system.
So clearly this is going to do good, and it's going to increase access to affordable housing, increase access to jobs because people will be able to use transit and intermodal transit. This is an opportunity for developers too, right?
Right.
To do well by doing good, perhaps. John, tell us how a developer would look at this opportunity.
Okay, so by the way, I do ride my bike to work. I have for 35 years. My wife thinks I'm a little nuts, but it's
a smart man.
It's a great way to get going in the morning. But to me, mass transit is becoming so important in American cities, and the fact that you have a vision to create something, not only from a social point of view with affordable housing, but something that's quite unique. And I think this is really what Miami needs something that is quite important architecturally and so forth, and to really bring people in. We're right next to the Brickell neighborhood, which of course is very hot right now, and it's a really important place to be. And I went through the terminal recently, the last trip I was down here. It's clean as a whistle. It seems to work very well, and I just wish you the best in the endeavor. Right?
It's a visionary project. Commissioner, tell us some more details about what are the next steps in the project.
Okay, so for those of you that live here, the RFP is out, so the cone of silence is down. For those of you that don't, just ask some land use attorney and they'll explain it to you. So that means I can only talk about process. I can't talk a lot about details because it's very important that this be a fair and equitable competition. So we have a 2-phased RFP process that will be happening. The first phase is an RFQ process. We'd like to qualify several teams, and that is what is out today that you can take a look at, and I presume people will form teams. I think it's an interesting project. I would love to be part of the team. So that'll be phase 1. We'd like to make sure we can qualify teams that meet all of our needs per that RFQ, making sure they can do the transit work, build a beautiful cultural facility, all of these kinds of things, and quite frankly, be financially solid, right? We'll have to be getting some construction loans and other things for this project, which you all know better than I do, but it's, I guess, probably a minimum of a 10-year build and maybe up to a 15-year build by the time we move all the pieces around. Once those teams are qualified, we will then move into the phase 2 of the RFP process, where teams will present proposals for all of the requirements. So that would be when you would be actually putting together the proposal of what would the downtown intermodal center look like, what would History Miami Museum look like, what would the downtown main library branch, where would you integrate parks and open spaces, how would the affordable housing fit with the mixed income and housing, where would commercial properties go. So I would, I don't run the procurement department, although sometimes I wish I did. But I presume we'll go through the qualifications phase will be several months. And then, of course, this is a large project. So probably the entire time on the rest of it for phase 2 would be up to 9 months for folks to prepare.
Do we have questions?
We do
Would-
have questions.
Would you like to?
These will not surprise you. We have 10 questions. 5 of them are nearly identical. And they all focus on the same thing, which is, I'll just pick one. Are there any headwinds with the city of Miami trying to zone projects through the RTZ to transfer jurisdiction from a city to a county or from local municipalities to the county?
So this project,
These are developers, you can
Yeah.
tell, asking these questions.
This project includes all county-owned land. And so the county under the charter, as long as we are close to a transit station, you saw how close we basically are at a transit station. The county has jurisdiction under rapid transit zoning to be able to have all the zoning jurisdiction and permitting jurisdiction over this project. Now, we will have to work in collaboration. For example, we have for some of these facilities received Federal Transit Administration approval, and so they may need to take a look at things. Every now and then we have an FDOT road, and they may need to look at things. And of course, we do need to work in partnership with the city of Miami, particularly to make sure we're balancing things on the roads. They have requirements. We always try to integrate that into our zoning. Sometimes our zoning is stricter than their zoning. Particularly, I'll give you an example where our zoning in areas like this requires a very intensive plan about Uber and Lyft and drop-offs. You can't just stop on the street. You've got to incorporate all of that traffic planning because for those of you that know the area, the streets in downtown are not very wide. And so we cannot just have rideshare people taking up an entire lane. So our zoning sometimes is stricter than the city of Miami, but essentially the county will be in charge of this project.
Thank you. I have a question for Mr. Buck. How is it possible to put a high volume of affordable and workforce housing in these projects and still make them economical, i.e. profitable, for developers and builders? How do you make that work?
That's a $64 question. So affordable housing, of course, is not as profitable as market housing. So the fact that you're building, though, on county-owned property, and I believe it's going to be a long-term ground leases, as I understand, I would assume that the county would make some consideration with respect to that so that we try, most builders now, most developers try to get a 7% return on their capital, which is way too low given the risk we take, by the way. But that seems to be the norm. And I think that those adjustments could be made by the county to really meet your goals in full measure.
If I may follow up on that, you've done other developments where the county has made land part of the deal. So how has that worked in the previous development?
So we have a lot of experience, I think, of building what we call mixed income housing here in Miami-Dade County. We've been very lucky. We've had a wonderful director of our, Michael Liu, for those of you that have worked with him, and we have been able to build mixed income housing. Even some of the projects I showed you, these are apartments for people who make less than 30% of area median income. So we put together a financing stack. We work with low-income housing tax credits. We have surtax funds from the state of Florida. We also have been very active with the RAD program that HUD has done. And so we are able to package some financing that helps particularly with the low income and the very low income units. And then of course, as we go up on the income, workforce housing in our county is 140% of AMI. And at that point in time, the private sector begins to be able to make a profit. And then we always put market rate units in those buildings. So at the end of the day, we have a building where it's not as profitable as luxury, but I'm not in that business. I'm in the business of housing residents. But we have a blended income stream for you all that has, I see a couple of folks that have done this for us nodding their heads. No one is going out of business doing this, but the county certainly does help.
And increasingly, this is the way of the future. And I think what you're doing here is exemplary to show how it can be done. Do we have other questions?
We do. I have one for Director Cleckley that's kind of a compound question because there are several in here. Can you speak a little bit about new Metro Rail lines coming, specifically to Miami Beach, and also the federal funding that we hope will be coming from the new bill that will help to expand the transit? See, I struck a note with that one.
Well, that's not a compound question. That's like a setup question. But, yeah, so again, I mentioned our SMART program that's set up to expand several mass transit lines throughout the county. So one of which is an actual expansion of our existing Metro Rail system to the north, to the Broward, Miami-Dade County line. That's up 27th Avenue. We did make an announcement that we are aggressively looking to move forward with that project in an expedited manner. We feel that that's not only an important link for the county, but also it's going to really address some of the inequities that we experience in our transportation system over times of what I would say either bad planning and design decisions that impacted low-income minority neighborhoods, and disinvestment over time. And so it's called the North Corridor. We're very excited about this. Our chairman of the Board of County Commissioners, this is a project that's near and dear to his heart, as well as to Commissioner Eileen Higgins, who actually also serves as the chair of our Transportation and Mobility and Planning Committee. And so both of them are really leading the charge to try to deliver this project. And this will provide a connection from our Martin Luther King station, extending the existing Metro Rail service to 199th Street, and then also provide access to Miami-Dade College North Campus, as well as to the stadium where the Dolphins play. So, as well as other intermediate locations and stations throughout those two terminus points. So we're excited about that project, and you will hear more about that. We're in the planning stages of that at this point in time. With respect to the beach, it's not an extension of Metro Rail. I would say it's an extension of some type of mass transit solution, and we have a recommended best approach for that, and that's to extend our existing Metro Mover system to some location on the beach. And those of you who are smiling, you probably saw some Twitter stuff about this. Don't worry about that. So we're good. But what I would say, that's a very exciting project, and again, that is a project that is providing that connection to the beach, which is part of the corridors that we're supposed to be building as a part of our People's Transportation Plan, which here in Miami-Dade County, you're being taxed a half-penny sales tax to be able to deliver that expanded service. And so we're going to continue to move forward with those projects. And again, we have projects going out west with the east-west corridor. I mentioned the commuter rail project on the northeast line. But then we do have one project that's under construction today. That's our south corridor. That's going to be one of the longest all-electric bus rapid transit corridors in the country. And it's actually connecting from our southernmost Metro Rail location or station, which is the South Dade station, all the way down to Florida City, which some of our poor residents reside, and it will dramatically decrease the commute time to get those individuals to downtown. So we plan to be operational in the first part of 2024, and we're excited about that, and more to come.
It's extraordinary, 2024. Let's wait for that.
That's great. I have another one. You guys are asking loaded questions. You're putting me on the spot up here. One of the biggest challenges in developing in Miami is permitting. Waiting almost 2 years for a permit is a challenge. Any help on the horizon?
I guess that one's to me.
I'll just throw it out there.
So, you will be happy to know that several years ago I passed a resolution requiring that any developments that have more than 10% of affordable and workforce housing included in it go to the front of the line in permitting. And part of that process, our departments really did take a look at how can they actually make this happen. And so it's not just that you check the box, my development has this, but we've changed some of our computer systems to make this work. We recognize that not every department is as fast as everybody else. I know you know which ones we're talking about. But I can tell you, the building I just showed you that's right next to the Brickell Metro Mover, it's a 30-story building, I think. Okay, I have my lifeline out there. 30 stories, we went to full permits. Again, this was under county permitting, not city permitting. We had full permits when we broke ground in less than 8 months. So we are really trying to dramatically improve our service because time is money. It's not just money to you all, it's money to us, but it's also housing to our residents.
Thank you.
So Andrew, I have questions.
Yes, please
when we
do.
went-
Yeah, we have-
wonderful. Thank you for the opportunity to ask a kind of a broad-based question. It's remarkable, 1 million people coming to Florida in the last 3 years, and it's 300,000 plus a year and continuing and to Florida, and Miami, of course, itself. So what is capacity? What do you expect in terms of growth in Miami in the coming years? What are your projections?
Well, right now, it seems quite rapid. Speaking of rapid transit, we do expect to continue to see growth. Not just with folks, but also we're doing, as a county, an amazing job, along with the city of Miami, in recruiting businesses to be here. Our economy was not very diverse, and we are now diversifying pretty rapidly, particularly with a lot of startups in the tech community, and you're going to see some more big announcements coming. I can't tell you about them. So very exciting companies are relocating here from the Midwest or expanding here, bringing higher wage jobs, which is great for us. And we also, because of this robust ability to take advantage of the bipartisan infrastructure law, it's a historic investment in public transportation. We've never seen this kind of money made available by the feds, and we'll never see it again 5 years from now. And so we really have the opportunity now to couple the interest in Miami, both business-wise and real estate-wise, with getting these transit lines built so we can manage this demand.
Transit lines, and I'll come back to that question in a moment, but also schools. Come back to the school question and what you're planning for this new center.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, I told you I don't like TOD. I like transit-oriented communities because until you can raise a child there, you cannot live your full life near transit in a car-free environment. And that has become an issue. And so you'll see that one of our facilities actually is Miami-Dade Public Schools, getting a middle school right in Brickell because we have an elementary school but ran out of middle school seats. In our downtown project, when you begin to look at Brickell, downtown, and Edgewater, there's flat out not enough school seats for any age of child, whether you're little bitty, middle schooler, or a high schooler. So that is one of the requirements. It's a must-have, not a nice-have, that there must be an educational component. And I see it in my building. I live downtown. My neighbors have 2 little ones. At the age of 4, there's no place to go to school. They move to the burbs. They buy 2 cars. They go from a no-car family to a 2-car family. And we're in the business of keeping cars off the road. So schools are part of that.
So let me just back to the transit question. The transit will make a difference, obviously, for this particular project, but also for the surrounds. How does that work? What kind of connectivity is being planned?
Absolutely. Again, the benefit of this project is that you have essentially almost all of our modes that are connecting into a confined area to provide greater ease and access throughout the entirety of the system. I want to plug one thing as we continue as a department to work, as a county to work with developers. I want to say that I think the idea of what public transportation is changing and quite frankly has to change. It is not a social service. It is a consumer good. As my good friend from FDOT, Jeremy Mullins, always reminds me, which means that it's really an amenity. So as you go out and you identify these sites to develop, don't put public transportation on the back burner. It should be a part of how you're developing that site to make sure you're creating that greater connectivity and ease moving forward, because inevitably that's going to make your site much more attractive, and it's going to help from a county and public sector perspective meet some of our goals from a mobility standpoint, which is to help reduce traffic, get people out of their cars, and get folks onto our public transportation system. And so the Metro Center project is critical. Those connections, again, to intercity service for Brightline, our kind of downtown circulator service with Metro Mover, as well as throughout the region as we expand out our Metro Rail service and the additional lines that we have planned for our SMART program. It's really critical that we deliver this project appropriately. So we're excited about it, and look forward to at some point in time breaking ground soon.
So I'm going to ask one more question to you, but then I'm going to ask a wrap-up question, rapid fire for each member, which is, what is the most, it may be very hard to answer, what's the most exciting part of this project to you? But mass transit in many parts of the country is actually under pressure, and in fact losing money significantly. So how does this project work in to help the challenges in that respect that I'm sure you are seeing too?
So even though I would say it's under pressure because you had a monumental shock to the system due to COVID. And I'm happy to report, at least at this point, where we are within our system across all of our modes, is the fact that we are at 86% of our pre-pandemic ridership numbers. So, yes, let's clap that, please. So
Did you
86.
say 86%?
Yeah.
This may be a high for the entire country with transit. This is amazing.
Yeah, so because on average, it's about 2/3 to 70% recovered. And so, and you can see it and feel it. Those of us who ride the system, I'm sure you see more people on our buses and on our rail and our Metro Mover. I would like to think that is because we're getting our act together as a department with our existing system and again, making our service much more customer friendly. But I do think that that's a trend that we're going to continue to experience as we have more people come to the county and the city of Miami, is that people expect that their way to get around is not solely based on their vehicle. And so I think we'll be in good shape.
Good shape and getting better.
We are improving, and the numbers are going to
Okay, good. So John, what most excites you? And then I'm going to turn back to you, Commissioner, and then to you, Commissioner, Director. Commissioner. Go ahead, John.
What's the question?
Well, the question is, what excites you about this? What would be most exciting to you about this? If you were to put your money on this one, what would be most exciting to you about it?
Well, I think the latest best example is San Francisco, and what that project did to the inner city, the CBD of San Francisco, is unbelievable. And so that's what excites me. I mean, this is, I hope that the county is really as excited as I am about the planning and the architecture.
The planning and the architecture and the museum.
That's really what
is exciting to you. Excellent. Okay, Commissioner.
Affordable housing built near reliable public transportation. That's what excites me, because when you build affordable housing near public transportation, it's even more affordable than anywhere else because you don't have all those car expenses in your family.
Director?
Ditto.
What's most exciting to me is that you can actually have it all. As these wonderful public leaders and private leaders show public-private together, it can be done in Miami. Thank you very much.